Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 163. And as you can see, I have made some improvements to my reed and cactus farm. I have replaced the reeds and cactus with crop sticks containing reed and cactus. So I've been waiting to do this basically because I didn't have the cactus seeds, which is something you have to breed. And I was pretty sure that I'd found the combination required, but I couldn't get it to produce any cactus. Aerops guy from the previous episode spent the time while waiting for me to do something else doing that and managed to produce cactus, which is nice. I also replaced the reeds because it removes the requirement to have the water in the middle, which means I can fit in another row. And of course the cactus fits a lot better because you can have all of the spaces filled here as well. Unfortunately, when I had to replace the circuit board here to replace the reed and succulent farm tubes with orchards, because you require that to harvest crop sticks apparently, which I find a little weird, but whatever. But when I removed the circuit board, it reverted to an arboretum, a tree farm, obviously. And I didn't turn off the signal that tells the farm to be enabled, so it chopped down my rubber trees, which was not intended, so I had to replant those. But that's no matter. I have a huge supply of rubber or sticky resin built up, so I'm in not of want of rubber right now. So in this episode we are going to have a look at bees. So I've been working on the railway and it is coming along nicely. This tape measure, I've started the measurement on the far end of the railway where it currently ends. Now of course it is actually longer than this because it slithers back and forth across the land a bit, avoiding obstacles like mostly water and some rough terrain, but pretty spot on, so almost 5,000 blocks, which is quite a bit. Now while working on the railway, I've encountered some beehives, and of course I'd left the scoop here, so I had to make a new one. Then I came back, unloaded, then went out again and left the scoop here, and then found more beehives, so I had to make another scoop. Fortunately, there were cotton plants on the way that I found that I could use to make wool to make a scoop. So, bees. We have our bees here that I have had making combs for beeswax, pretty much, to make pipe sealant. Probably going to have plenty of pipe sealant now, though, with the upgraded cactus farm. So, the beealyzer, as you can see, is a device made from a diamond, some redstone, tin and glass in a carpenter, and this allows you to analyze bees, similar to how you scan seeds in Railcraft, to get some information about their traits, although this is a little bit more in-depth than Railcraft. So bees have 2 traits. Also, this is powered by honey drops. One scan requires 1 honey drop. So this princess, we can see, has an active and an inactive side, you could say. So it has a bunch of traits like lifespan is short, production is slow, pollination is slowest, flower type is cacti. So fortunately I put these here, and I had cactus nearby, which wasn't really intentional. Fertility, I guess, means how many drones it can produce. Territory, I think that means if the bee has an effect, how big of an area from the bee house or apiary that effect can be applied, and the effect is obviously if it has an effect. So the active side is what actually matters. The inactive side is just something that it carries but doesn't actually affect the bee. It just factors in when breeding happens and mutations. Now, of course, this is a natural bee, so both of these are the same. Pretty sure that all generated, or all bees you get from oral gen will have the same. Both of these will be the same. So we can get some more detailed data through these tabs, I guess you could call them. We can get some information about its climate, and obviously it prefers hot climate because it is in a kind of a desert biome, arid. The tolerance, so it can go up 1 or down 1. Now I don't remember what the levels are called, but from hot you have one that is even hotter, and then one colder, and this can tolerate one deviation in either direction of these. Now I have this habitat locator, which is going to be useful because it tells me what the biome I'm in is, which previously I haven't been able to tell because of course I can't open the debug screen. It is immediately closed. So the habitat locator will tell you what the biome you're in is called and its temperature and humidity, as you can see. And thanks to the enhanced heads-up display from the nanosuit helmet, I can read what it is reading without actually having to have my inventory open, because normally you would have to check the tooltip to see that data, which is handy. If you activate it with a right click, it can accept honey, and you can use it to locate a habitat for a specific bee. So to demonstrate this, I don't really need this right now, but if we put a honey drop in there, we can put a princess in here, and we get you can see that it highlights some of the biomes that are acceptable for this bee. Now it only contains vanilla biomes in here, of course, but then this will act as a compass and will point at the closest one, and presumably that also detects mod biomes, but I'm not sure. I can't really tell what this is pointing at. But anyway, so you can use this to find survivable habitats for our bees. As you can see, I made 4 more bee houses, and the reason for that is that I found some new bees while I was outside working on the railways. I found marshy bees and tropical bees. Now, tropical bees are important. Unfortunately, I've only found one of those so far, because they produce tropical combs. I don't remember what they are called. Let's see. It's the silky comb, and the silky comb, when centrifuge, produces silky propolis, or has a chance to. And when that is centrifuged, you have a chance to get silk wisps. And the silk wisps can be used to make string or woven silk, and also apparently candles. And the woven silk can be used to make the apiarist suit, which will protect you against bee effects. Also apparently this thing, which I don't know what it does. And it can be used to upgrade your backpacks at the cost of a diamond as well. And upgrading a backpack will allow it to, instead of 15 slots, carry 45 separate stacks of items, which is quite an upgrade. And considering I always have full inventory space, kind of wish there was a way to compact the backpacks, because that is one of the things I have the most trouble with. But being able to store more in the backpacks would be amazing as well. It doesn't apply to the apiarist or the tree breeding backpack. This one, or that might be the butterfly one, actually. I'm not sure. These fancy words, don't recognize them. But this already has a whole lot of slots, and this works similar to the apiarist's chest. It uses that in the recipe, which allow you to store a bunch of bees and will show possible mutations that you have discovered. Anyway, we have some more information. We have the production, so we can see that this produces parched combs and nothing else. And through mutations, you can have bees that produce more things and have specialties, so produce special items. Here are the possible mutations, and of course we haven't discovered any. And then we have some information about the species, which we don't really care about. It's just for flavor. If we scan this one, we are going to see that this is pretty much going to be identical. I can't even tell if it's replacing those. It does. So these are absolutely identical. The only difference is that one is pristine and one is ignoble. We can also scan these. Now, I don't know if this is going to scan the entire stack. It is. So it scans the entire stack for 1 drop of honey, which is nice. Now I'm going to scan the tropical, and you can see that it has an effect, poison. That means that while the bee is working, if you are in the area of effect, which is average, you have a chance to be poisoned, which is of course a bad thing, because poison is deadly in this mod pack. We also have some of these. I don't know what diurnal means. I don't remember. Nocturnal obviously means that it can work during night, which If this is no, it cannot. It does only work during the day. Tolerant flyer means it can work while it is raining. And cave dwelling means that it can work while not seeing the sky. Pretty straightforward, I think. Then we have the marshy bees. They do not have an effect. Their flower type is mushroom. They are not cave-dwelling though. They like damp. And finally, we have the wintry bees. And we're going to scan these, and they have the freezing effect. And I presume that means that it is going to freeze water nearby into ice and possibly generate snow. Its flower type is snow, which is not a flower really, but it is what it requires to work. And it doesn't have any of these modifiers. It likes it cold and not too arid, not too damp. So yeah. Now the tropical princess, we should be able to work with in this our home biome over here, which the desert bees wouldn't work in, of course. So we have warm temperature and damp humidity. So if we put this in here, the second, so warm and damp, warm and damp. Perfect. Now unfortunately, there isn't really a way to get more bees of the same species, except finding world gen hives until we get an alveary, which is a multi-block thing. There is a swarmer that has a chance to generate more princesses or queens or something. So we are going to put the tropical princess in here and a tropical drone. And they are going to generate a queen, and once they start working, like we can see they are right now, we're going to want to keep our distance from that hive, because like I said, it has a chance to poison you if you are nearby, which I don't want. I do have a single pack of milk left, which I can use to cure myself, but then I'm pretty much doomed. I don't really need to use these anymore right now because I think I'm good on... oh, these are nocturnal apparently. Because I'm good on pipe sealant for now. So the bee houses, I thought before that the main difference... So I thought before that the main difference between the bee house and the apiary was that the apiary could not be automated. But I've since learned a number of things, and one is that that is not true. The apiary can be automated and the bee house cannot, but the apiary also allows mutations, which the bee house does not, and I didn't know that. I thought the bee house worked that way as well. And of course, the apiary can accept frames, which the bee house cannot, which can increase production and lifespan and things like that. There are some frames that do different things, like the Pruin one, for example. And then we have the untreated one, and then pretty sure there were 3 of them. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't see one. Anyway, and also I think it was the bee house makes the bees work faster and die faster as well. So in the apiary it takes longer to get products, but the bees can mutate into new types, and you can use frames on them. And of course the alveary is a more advanced apiary, which allows environmental controls. You can modify the environment inside to be able to have bees work in biomes they wouldn't normally work in. And then you also have some special blocks like the C, which I don't know what it does, the Swarmer, and I think there are add-ons that add more things, possibly. But yeah, so now, since it is suddenly night, these will have stopped working. So I'm going to run the tropical bees through the bee house for a bunch of cycles to get silky combs to produce silk wisps, with the hopes of eventually being able to start upgrading my backpacks, which is going to take a while. And I'm also going to continue working on the railway, of course. Now, another thing that I want to do is that I'm not going to do on camera. I've had a few instances, like you saw in a recent episode, where I've had runaway trains because there is a problem where trains sometimes get duplicated because of vanilla chunk issues, I'm guessing. And unfortunately, when this happens, when there are 2 identical trains, they get confused as to what carts should be attached to what, or linked. And this causes links to break. So when this happens, usually the train or the locomotive gets disconnected and then shoots off, and I have to chase it down, which is annoying. So what I want to do is make a bunch of points that has a routing detector and a switch. And if there is a locomotive that is just a locomotive, so if it is a length of 1, if the train length is 1, it is going to route it into kind of a side track, shut it down, and it's not going to be allowed to continue because it's going to be the track is going to end in a buffer stop. And I'm going to make a few of these along my tracks, so I have different points where the locomotive will be caught. So this will hopefully mean that I don't have to chase locomotives as much. I'm also going to expand this track because, as you can see, this the length of this of my personal train has grown a bit, so I need more space for it. So currently no big projects going on, just some smaller ones. The way I've been laying the or building the railway is of course using a track layer cart that when I arrive at the current end of the railway, I build a little turnaround side track. So I turn the entire train around, then I attach the track layer at the end of the train, and then I have it back up to lay new tracks. And then as soon as I run out of tracks, and as you can see I currently have 3 cargo carts full of tracks. I previously had 4 in all of my runs. I just added 1 when I came back this time. And then when these run out of tracks, I just remove the track layer, put it in the chest cart, and then I can just hit forward on the locomotive and go straight back to the base, barring any duplication issues, of course. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. I am getting very close to the point where we are going to turn to the south, where the railway is going to take a big turn. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting very close. I'm at least over halfway, I know that for sure. And once there, I'm going to make the big turn, and if I am correct, that is going to mean I will encounter the ocean eventually. And then we are going to get to deploy the robot for its intended purpose, to build bridge foundations for the railway. As you know, I previously used it to build the foundations for the bridge that goes out to the new oil source. So I got to try it out, but I'm looking forward to getting to use it for what I made it for. There we go. I'm also going to build a system here for stopping the train, because currently it's, when I arrive here at the station, it will refill the water and then keep going. I need something that shuts it down. Probably a locking track, or a locomotive track. Do I have one of those? I think I only have the limiter tracks, yeah. Need to make a locomotive. Wasn't that what it was called? Pretty sure that's its name. Yeah, locomotive track. I'm going to need to make one of these. It actually uses signal lamps. That's interesting. Let's make one of those before the episode ends. But yeah, that is pretty much what I'm doing currently. Going to keep an eye on the bees. Happen to have 2 signal lamps lying around, which is perfect. I've been making tons of tracks, usually out of steel. So I've been making lots and lots of steel as well, because it is more efficient. Using iron gets you 6 or 8 rails. Using steel gets you 16. So it's a significant improvement for a bit of coal and or power. There we go. Nice. I'm going to have to back up the train. I also have some new mods that I've added that you might have seen in the change log that I haven't talked about yet. One of those is OC Carts, which is an add-on for Open Computers that adds basically robots in minecarts, which is really interesting. At least I think so. But beyond that, it also adds some other things that I'm going to find very useful. But I'm not prepared to look at that quite yet. I've also added the what's it called? I forget its name. Open Glasses, I think. Yes, OC Glasses. I think the name varies. It basically adds augmented reality glasses that you can program, and they can display text on the HUD and also highlight blocks and display text above blocks in the world and things like that. I haven't really looked at that either yet, and I'm not prepared to do anything with it, but we are going to get around to that in time. So that is going to be this episode. It has been a mostly talking episode, so I'm sorry if you wanted to see something more interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have, like I said, a whole lot of interesting things right now. Mostly doing boring things like laying down tracks. But eventually we are going to get some more interesting things to do. Hopefully I'll have something for the next episode. But until then, I will see you in the next episode.